But I wanted to talk about women who have a hard time speaking their truth. Women who were raised in families where it wasn't safe to speak their truth, express how they feel. Women who were raised and weren't allowed to be angry. No one took the time to understand your anger and offer compassion to you. Women who maybe went from this pattern with their parents to having the same pattern with their partner. I'm going to connect some dots really quickly to a past life experience of my own. This means that 9 times out of 10, you have a past life experience where your life was taken because you were accused of being a witch. And most of the time, the way that the lives were ended was through strangling, choking, suffocation, even suffocation from smoke inhalation for those who were put in fire. And what this does is it creates a scar in the throat chakra. And so if this is how you exited your physical body in a past life, when you come back in your next incarnation, you come back to heal that wound. But in order to do that, you must be born into a family that's going to trigger the existence of that wound. Because if that wound is never triggered into your awareness, it can't be healed because you don't know that it's there. Now, recently, just to add the personal experience that I mentioned, recently I found out that I have a lump that was found in my throat, a pretty big lump. And some years ago, I lost my baby sister, and she also had a lump in her throat. And so when I first discovered this, of course, I was emotionally pretty much distraught. After spending time with myself, all the things that I teach in my Turn Pain into Purpose course, going back through everything that I have learned and using my tools, I started to hone in on why so many women, whether it's a lump or maybe thyroid issues, these are signs of a witch wound. And it doesn't mean that you were doing anything wicked to people. You could have been a medicine woman. You could have been someone who was really good at growing fruits and vegetables, and they were bigger than everybody else's, and you were accused of using witchcraft. This is something that was really common. You could have been a doula and somebody who had ancestral intelligence of how to help women in labor, and you were accused of being a witch. You could have been someone who had a goddess frequency, and so maybe there was an impact that you had on men, and other women accused you of being a witch and putting some type of love spell on their men. But you just had high levels of magnetism, because when you are meant to be a goddess, your auric field is going to resonate differently. This has nothing to do with anyone being better than someone else. It's just different. And, and so some of these things that are common that we experience is sexual abuse as well. This triggers these wounds to come into our awareness. And because the throat, the larynx of the throat is exactly the same geometry anatomically as the uterus, the entrance into the womb. And so the way the throat opens and closes, the functionality of the throat, the moisture, all of these things are And as above, so below, symbology of the anatomical, spiritual anatomy of a woman. And so these wounds within the throat chakra oftentimes manifest with people being sexually inappropriate with us, usually at early ages. And many of us do have a goddess frequency, which is something that requires training, or it can be misunderstood and misused, and people, oftentimes would accuse feminine embodied beings like me and those who I'm talking to who resonate with this of being hypersexual or fast, promiscuous. She fast, she's promiscuous. But it was just the energy that is within us. And so the commonality of lumps in the throat from the specialists that I've seen was just mind-blowing for me to learn how common it is. And not only that, but the thyroid issues is so common now. And so many women have even had their thyroid removed. That gland is a very important gland, and it has a lot of occult principles centered around its functionality as it connects to spirituality as well. But when you look at the thyroid, you also see the shape of a butterfly. This is also not a coincidence. The shape of the butterfly is representation of the monarch butterfly specifically, because this butterfly has genetic encoding that's passed down to its children. So it never has to teach the children how to migrate and the divine timing to do so. It's something that's genetically passed down, very similar to the genetic encoding that's passed down through matrilineal DNA, which is the only way that scientists have been able to figure out how old certain cultures are, is through looking at the matrilineal DNA. Even the oldest human woman, quote unquote, that was found, because that's another conversation that I could get into another time, but they found her through the matrilineal DNA. And so it's very important, because if you had a past life where this happened to you, these are some of the symptoms that may show up in your life. And this creates a complexity that other people don't understand and won't understand. And it leads a lot of us to feeling like the lone wolf and the black sheep. And oftentimes we're the scapegoats in our families as well. So we're people that get blamed for things, because if your life was taken while you were being blamed for something and you were in strong resistance against that, you're becoming a vibrational match to blame. And so it creates this epigenetic encoding of guilt that we pick back up when we incarnate in our next lifetime, so that we could clear that karmic debt. And so a lot of us struggle with guilt, and a lot of women that struggle with mom guilt when they are caring for themselves. It's also connected to what some would call the witch wound, which simply means someone who had a lifetime where their life was taken because they were accused of being a witch. And so this is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. I have been choosing my topics based on the energy of what is coming to me through the Akashic records, versus just going through a list of topics and uploading them. So I hope that me doing this way energetically is going to have a stronger resonance. And if this information helped you in any way, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you, because at the